world in 2017. What is the Microsoft view on that? Who better than Anant Maheshwari, the newly appointed president of Microsoft India, in conversation with us right here at ET Now. Thank you very much, Mr. Maheshwari, for being with us. It's, of course, officially been just a few days that you've taken charge, but you've been preparing this role for a few months now. If I were to ask you, as the head of Microsoft India, and Microsoft is perhaps the most revered companies around the world, not just in India, the Satya connection just adds on to the euphoria. But if I were to just ask you from a purely business point of view, what will your priorities for India really be in this new role?
So as I take on, first of all, you're right, I'm honored to be part of this team and lead it in India. It's been an exciting 4 months coming on board. Looking at the ambitions that we may have for India, it's no different from what we have globally. Globally, we've said that we have 3 bold ambitions, and same exists for India. Let me just give you a quick glimpse into that. So first of those is reinventing business and productivity processes for our customers in the enterprise and the small and medium business space. The second is more personal computing, and I'll talk a little more about that one. And the third one is being the leader in the intelligent cloud. Now all these 3 are interconnected because they really enhance the power of each other as they come together for any individual or organization on the planet and enables them to do more. And so those really are the ambitions that we have in the country to be the leader in all of these 3 spaces.
So as you are largely aligned with your global ambitions, and they are no different as far as India is concerned, what role do you see India play in the scheme of things globally for Microsoft? I mean, yes, you're going to head this unit, but I'm sure there's a larger play at work. What would that be?
So the first amongst that is very obvious. India is the few economies in the world, less than 10 today, I believe, which are growing at 7% and already being a top 5 economy. That does cause a lot of attention on India. And therefore, we believe there's a huge opportunity that exists in India, just from the macros. Second, I think India is very rapidly moving towards being a digital economy. Now, there has been a lot of focus, not just from the government, which we read and through all the work that all of you do, we get to know a lot more of what the government does. But what's generally not talked about is how much the enterprises and businesses in India are rapidly moving towards being digital businesses. In the last 2 months, I've spoken to more than 50 CEOs, and I try to understand from them as to how do they think about their own businesses. And most of these companies are not in the digital world already, but they are increasingly thinking of their businesses as digital businesses. Now you combine these 2 macro trends of the government and the economy moving towards being digital, and businesses in reinventing themselves to be digital. Clearly, that coupled with the macro trend causes us to be really excited about what could come out of India.
You know, I had a very obvious question to ask of you, which is the ROC filings and how your revenue is growing. But because you mentioned corporates and how corporates are lapping up technology, it's an obvious question to ask that, you know, corporate performance has remained sluggish. You know, quarter after quarter, earnings haven't picked up in India. Does that slowdown reflect in the adoption or embracing of technology, new technology, digital, like you said?
So I don't.
Is it delaying things?
So I don't know what's the cause here, but the effect clearly I can talk about. I think there is a lot of focus to using the 4 different pillars of digital transformation to re-energize businesses. And those 4 pillars are, you can either engage with your customers much better. You can empower your employees to do a lot more. You can optimize your operations to get much better efficiencies in your business. Or you could reimagine the offerings that you may have for your own customer set. Now take those 4 pillars. All of those 4 can cause a complete change. And each of those 4, in fact, can cause a complete change in the financials and growth pattern of a company. And that's what I believe. So digital transformation is likely to be an enabler rather than in any way a cause for a slower growth.
So are you saying that because of the slowdown, companies are perhaps looking at being more digital because it pays and it helps to eventually save costs, eventually run more smooth operations?
Absolutely. I think digital is one of the biggest levers to create growth for all kinds of companies in different industries. And it's also something that is now becoming much more easy in reach with the power of the cloud. You don't need to make huge IT investments to go digital. With the cloud and with the intelligent cloud, you can really take calculated risks, make small pilots, and then quickly scale them up as you see value in going digital. And that's where those 4 use cases are very critical, because each company may start at a different starting point.
So just before I go to cloud, and obviously there's a lot of ground to cover there, data from the Registrar of Companies shows a big jump in Microsoft India revenues. Of course, because software products, services to cloud were really embraced in the last few years. Do you see Microsoft cross that $1 billion revenue mark in India? I mean, that seems to be imminent, but when do you see that happen?
So to me, I don't think of it as an event. I think any number that you may refer to, we don't specifically talk about any of the numbers, but even if I keep the number aside, I think the fact that we would look at India as a big growth engine for us has been stated earlier. It continues to be. My only focus will be how can we accelerate it.
You know, you were recently quoted, and I'm just going to quote what you said. You said fourth wave of industrial revolution will be the combination of physical, biological and digital transformation, and that makes it the fourth wave of industrial revolution so different. What potential or what part do you see India play in that fourth revolution, given it's a culmination of all the other three that's coming?
So I have to say I'm passionately nationalistic, and I am a big believer in the story of India, seen it in many different ways. I truly believe that the fourth industrial revolution can help many parts of India grow much faster, mainly because some of them have not even had the benefit of seeing the power of the third and the second industrial revolution.
That's right, yes.
Because of many infrastructural constraints in our country, many funding constraints, many resource constraints in our country, many parts of our country have not seen the second and the third industrial revolution. At the same time, we hear about these billion mobile phones that have penetrated different parts of the country. So the data is already there in different parts of the country. It's interplaying already with the physical world in many different ways. The communication in our country is changing dramatically with this advent of technology, and I believe it can be a huge enabler for our overall macro growth.
So, when you say huge enabler, everybody's spoken about how everybody's carrying computing in their little pockets because we're all looking at smartphones. And think about it, rural India, hinterland is moving to that initiative. What are the challenges that you envisage at this stage? So, I mean, when you look at opportunity, I'm sure there are challenges that cloud your vision as well.
So I think maybe let me answer this question from the perspective of a startup.
Right.
And how would a startup think about this, and how would they can't of course solve all the problems that everybody would be encountering. They can pick up one or two of the problems that they would like to encounter and create value on. But that's the power of India. You're not talking about just one or two startups. You're talking about thousands and thousands and millions of startups potentially that can really change different aspects of India. And that's where I think the ability of the fourth industrial revolution to enable startup to solve these million problems is what gives me hope about what it can do for India.
So is cloud and enterprise then, have you made a peace with the fact, be the growth drivers going forward?
It will be one of the biggest growth drivers. I won't say it is the only growth driver, because we've clearly articulated that we are working in a mobile first and a cloud first world. And mobile there should not be construed just as the instrument.
That's
it's
right.
Mobility that one is referring to when we say mobile first world. So now you go back to the three bold ambitions that I spoke of. Intelligent cloud is one of them.
Right.
With augmented reality, with artificial intelligence, you're coming to a world where we will increasingly interplay what we physically see versus what we are not seeing, but the data on that is around us. So how does that come together and make us more productive?
So just taking a cue from what we are not seeing right now, you know, artificial intelligence, machine learning are really the latest buzzwords, so to say. I mean, these are the trends that one speaks about. We are increasingly seeing products like digital assessment, facial recognition, translation, which uses a lot of artificial intelligence. What is the way forward in some of this?
The most simple use case is I don't think we'll have problems of different parts of India talking to each other. The fact that you can have very seamless language and conversations as a platform, and you can have continuous translations, can cause somebody who's maybe not fully literate to be able to converse with somebody else in another part of the country who's speaking a totally different language. Just that power of bringing our country together, to me, is both an area of optimism and a lot of emotion, because it brings India together.
So, you know, when you talk about bringing India together, you just have to look at it from the enterprise point of view or from business's point of view. The way a business has to speak to a machine, a consumer, and perhaps people is changing. How is Microsoft looking to change with that? So internally and externally.
I would say, I would put the equation a little different. I think Microsoft is enabling both that company and that user to interact with each other more seamlessly in this new world. So it's helping the company think through different paradigms of how they can use data either from their customers, partners, employees, and their products and services to do more. And it's engaging the customers, which is the individuals, to say how can they get more out of what they're already buying.
Right.
So you can use the stuff that you've already paid for in many different ways. And I think that those use cases are also developing. So Microsoft is truly working for that individual and for that organization to get more from what they already have.
So you're really the key enabler as far as that seamless communication is concerned. Healthcare technology and cloud has seen a big push in India. Will this continue, and how easy will it be to monetize healthcare? We've all seen it take off, but we haven't seen the initiative monetize right away.
So depends on who you talk to on this front. There are clearly use cases where they've seen a lot of power, and many of them are not just thinking about immediate returns on what the investments that they're making, but at the same time there's immediate value. I'll give you a very simple example. We worked with a couple of leading eye institutes in India to collaborate and create better ability to predict what kind of treatments people may need for eyes. And we found a lot of richness in the data that was getting generated and the accuracy and the predictability of eye treatment. And to me, just that capability is really powerful, and that initial partnership with one or two players has now become a global partnership and that came out of India and is becoming a big platform. We call it the Mine platform, and that got launched in December in India with a global launch. So to me, that's just one example.
Will we see a lot more of in India for the world, specifically designed for India? Some of your competitors are doing it, specifically designing it for India, for this market. Are we going to see a lot more of that? Is that the trend that we'll perhaps see in 2017?
So already, I kind of refer to my team and I say we have heard about two major trends about Make in India and Digital India. I think Microsoft is uniquely positioned to make digital in India. So to me,
taking away from the two catchphrases.
No, and this is not a buzzword for me, because, and I want to just explain that it's not just in the government and the citizen context that I'm talking about making digital in India. It's not just in terms of new products and platforms that I'm talking about make digital in India. It's both of those. In addition, it's also digital with enterprises, because truly today's enterprises, as I explained earlier, are thinking about new ways of doing business. So we have to make digital for them too. In the way they do business. And those four levers that I spoke of earlier is the way that we bring all our platforms and services, and even the third-party platforms and services, as building blocks.
Right.
But how those building blocks get assembled for every one customer is unique. And that's making digital in India.
So, you know, just to take a cue that it's not just about the consumer or the government, it's about getting the whole ecosystem together. But you are also a part of the list of companies that are empaneled by the government for cloud. Where are things on that?
We are very enthused and excited. I think the power of the cloud to be, and especially the Microsoft cloud, to be hyper scalable, hyper secure, security is big on everybody's mind, and hyper flexible, because we are uniquely positioned to provide both the public cloud and the private cloud and the hybrid cloud. Right. So if you take all of those three things together, we see a lot of capability that different governments, both state and central, different public sector units can do to bring a lot of newness and innovativeness in the way they serve their customers.
Go down to your specific products and your specific strategy here in India. Let's talk about competition for a while. And I think Sundar Pichai was here recently, and Google's launched a SMB-only initiative called Digital Unlock. Are you going to be looking at doing something similar? I mean, what's the firepower that we can expect Microsoft to bring to this battle for, the battle for the peace, really?
So I'm really excited that many global players are finding that value in India. Fortunately for us, we've been here for more than 2 decades, and we've been doing a lot of work with every part of the Indian ecosystem, including a lot of work that we've done with the SMB ecosystem over the last many years.
But is SMB going to be the big battleground for you and for players like Google?
So we have a very simple philosophy. There's so many problems to be solved for all our customers. Let's go and solve those problems. If more than one player is solving all of those problems, it's great for the customer.
You being a benevolent head of Microsoft India, you're not really letting me on competition there. But let's just talk about specific initiatives. You made a big bet with Windows 10. it has yet to really translate into sales numbers. What's your strategy up there?
So I don't know what's your reference point in saying that. For us, we would say Windows 10 has been a brilliant success for Microsoft globally, because it's truly bringing a unified platform to very different kinds of more personal computing that I referred to. Because this is the one operating system that's gone beyond just one or two form factors. It's now getting seen in every form of personal computing that we and many of our partners are going at. So to me, it's just an amazing innovation as well as a platform that one can build on.
I know you'll tell me that this is a more global question, but I still must ask you, because you're ahead of an important market like India now. The LinkedIn integration, and one talked about how Microsoft did show a lot of agility and did show a lot of likeness for some things new, something that you had been criticized in the past for. How is that integration coming along?
So integration's just begun, as you know. Just a few days back, we announced the completion of this acquisition process. I have to say that, like many other things in the company, we are so excited with this partnership that is evolving with LinkedIn. I'm sure that we will learn a lot, and LinkedIn will learn a lot, because we bring in very, very complementary capabilities to each other. And in that process, I think the beneficiaries of that will be customers and partners who will truly take the power of this combined ecosystem of Microsoft and LinkedIn and go do very, very innovative things. What are the list of all of those innovations? If you have the question there, I can say don't know at this stage. We really followed the process as it has been defined. So only after the closure of the acquisition, which happened a few days back, have we really got on to the drawing board to figure out what all are the potential use cases that one can go with.
But does an acquisition like a LinkedIn make Microsoft cooler?
I don't know.
More with it.
I don't know whether the acquisition per se makes it cooler or not. But if you read at all the blog community and the analyst community over the last 4 quarters, much before the acquisition, I saw enough headlines where the analysts were saying Microsoft is the cool company again. And by the way, at that point in time, I was looking to join Microsoft. So I kind of saw that term much before.
So that was encouraging to then join the company. I want to ask you a more big picture question. You said India is an exciting market. There's a lot of growth opportunity, so much of digital to do, plenty of problems to solve, and will not just take Microsoft but other people, which means you have hiring plans. What sort of hiring plans do you have? And I'm going to couple it with another counter question. The rhetoric in the US is very protectionist, and not just the US, around the world. But the world under somebody like Trump is going to be a very protectionist free world, is what one is making of it. Does that change things? Is this political rhetoric, or is this really something that we're going to see in reality play out?
So I'm sure there are better commentators on the American ecosystem and the US economy. It's just still changing. So I won't comment on that and add to the.
But does the rhetoric concern you?
Yeah, but let me talk about India and how we see it in India. I think there is a lot of opportunity. We are growing. We see our partner ecosystem growing. So if I take the combined power of Microsoft and its partners and channels in India, is it going to create more employment? Is it going to create new kinds of jobs? Is it going to create completely new opportunities, new skill sets, new talent? Yes, to all of those questions. What will be the pace of it? One can't really predict for each of those areas what the pace will be, but it definitely will be exciting. It's not going to be meager terms that we're going to talk about, because the world is changing so rapidly that you may not even be able to predict 12 months out how many of these skills and capabilities and talents you need. So I would generally say that we've always had a positive outlook over Indian talent, and we will continue to have that both for our Indian operations and global operations.
So you've obviously worn your president's hat rather skillfully and dodged my very important question, which is, and I'm going to rephrase it. I'm not asking you to comment on the US economy or the US presidency, but as somebody who heads a business in India in technology, there are obvious concerns that one has with this protectionist rhetoric. Does it cross your mind? Does that concern sometimes make you rethink your strategy?
Not really. I would clearly.
Does it add to pressure?
I would again say no. I think all chief executives and all leaders in the world know that we are living in a very, very dynamic and changing world. There are many terms for that. Today's issues might be what you may be referring to. There have been other issues in the past. There will be newer issues in the future. Are we going to react on each one of those issues and stop doing business? Absolutely not. I think we have to adapt and do more with the different opportunities that are facing us. Today's world, as in if you look at this whole aspect around globalization or deglobalization, as some people say, and the fact that it is becoming protectionist and so on, and look at the technology trends. Today, many companies have already moved to the fact that you don't need to fly across multiple continents to really be in person and have a meeting.
Technology can take care of that.
Today, I do my work, I do at least a few meetings every day where I'm talking in person with very strong participation with a number of players in different parts of the world. And I would then ask myself, is that new trend going to cause me to do more or less of this? Maybe, but I'm already doing it. So it only accelerates that trend, if anything else. Second, take the world of augmented reality. If in any case in the future, you're causing 10 people to come around in a single conference room and then say we will look at a screen for augmented reality and do work together, the natural question you will ask is, do we need to travel across the world to be in that room, or can we look at that screen in our 10 different conference rooms in 10 different parts of the world and still collaborate to work with each other?
And so that's the new world that we'll perhaps be living in.
We are moving to that world. So I think just as there are barriers that one may envision of one nature, there are new doors that are opening of another nature, which will cause a lot of human enterprise and entrepreneurship to create new opportunities.
Indeed. My last question to you, and this has more to do with India because the budget is right around the corner. I'm not going to ask you for a wish list, but things are dynamic and policy is very fluid right now. We're going to see perhaps the advent of a GST sometime this year. One doesn't know when, but it is going to change things for online services sector, for multiple companies, including the ones like yourselves. Do you have a wish list from the finance minister when he does rise to present that budget?
I would just say at a very broad level, think about all parts of the ecosystem. Think about definitely the citizens and how citizens can benefit from the wave of digital and online capabilities that are getting created. Same time, think about the entire entrepreneurial partner ecosystem, the channels, the new software vendors, the new startups that are creating a lot of this new innovation for India. I think it's very important to continue to nurture that. And finally, think about the large enterprises who are already transforming their businesses to go a lot more digital. They're taking the cue from the government and accelerating a lot of their plays towards going digital. So all I would say is think about all of these three different parts of the ecosystem as new policies are announced.
As someone, and you know this, I wasn't going to ask you this question, but as someone who's been a part of Indian industry for a while now, does the bubble in startup concern you? Does it fear you? What's really happening there? Is that too hot to handle right now, or do you think some part of it has really cooled off and was warranted?
So I won't know which bubble you're referring to because we are excited about startups. I think the energy and the entrepreneurial capability that startups that bring to all parts of industry is amazing. Somebody, a peer colleague CEO of mine once commented that it is so exciting to have these startups around, and this person is the CEO of a large company in India. He said, because these startups make me wake up every day and say, okay, I can do this better. And it's forcing all of us who have been in industry for so long to say, if the startup can see this differently, why can't I see it differently? So I think it makes everyone more agile to do more, and therefore there's huge value that the startups are adding to entrepreneurship that's always existed in India.
Anant Maheshwari, on that note, thanks very much for speaking to us.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.